The words hit me harder than the winter wind outside. My suitcase was already in my hand. My heart was already halfway out the front door, and I truly believed I was leaving behind the last connection to the man who had raised me. Then Rachel looked at me with tear-filled eyes, gently placed an old leather journal against her chest, and whispered, "My dad chose you for me." I almost laughed from disbelief, until she added that my father had been planning it for years, and suddenly everything I thought I knew about my own life began to unravel. If you believe kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us the world still has good people in it. My name is Caleb Foster, and I grew up in a quiet neighborhood outside Franklin, Tennessee, where everyone knew everyone. My father, Thomas Foster, wasn't wealthy or famous. He spent 35 years repairing heating systems, wore the same faded baseball cap every Saturday, and somehow managed to become the person every family trusted when life became difficult. After my mother passed away from an illness when I was 15, he raised me alone with more patience than I deserved. He never gave long speeches about love or success. Instead, he believed people should prove those things through small acts that nobody noticed. When I turned 28, my career took me to Chicago. I buried myself in work, convinced that achievement could replace loneliness. I visited Dad only on holidays, always promising next time would be longer. Every visit ended with him smiling and saying there was someone I should meet someday, but I always brushed the idea aside. I thought he was simply hoping I would settle down. Everything changed when Dad suffered a sudden heart attack. By the time I reached Tennessee, the funeral arrangements had already begun. The house felt painfully quiet without his humming in the kitchen or the smell of fresh coffee every morning. Friends, neighbors, and former customers filled the church with stories about how he had repaired furnaces for families who couldn't afford to pay or secretly left groceries on struggling neighbors' porches. Among the crowd stood a woman I barely recognized. Rachel Collins had been my childhood friend before life carried us in different directions. She had become a school librarian in the same town, known for organizing reading programs and helping children discover confidence through books. She smiled sadly when she saw me, but there was something she seemed to be holding back. For weeks after the funeral, I stayed behind to settle Dad's affairs. I planned to sell the house and return to Chicago. Every room reminded me of opportunities I had missed and conversations I would never have again. On my final evening, Rachel knocked on the door carrying a small wooden box. Inside rested several letters, photographs, and Dad's worn leather journal. She explained that Thomas had asked her to keep the box safe until the day I was ready to leave forever. As I turned the brittle pages, I found entries written over nearly 8 years. Dad had written about watching me build a successful career while quietly worrying that I had forgotten how to let people into my heart. He wrote about Rachel's kindness after school, how she volunteered at shelters, visited lonely seniors, and never asked for recognition. He admired the way she comforted grieving families after losing her own parents within just a few years. Then came the page that stopped my breathing. "If Caleb ever finds his way home," my father had written, "I hope he'll see what I've seen all these years. Rachel doesn't need saving, neither does he, but together I believe they'll remind each other what home truly means." I looked up in stunned silence. Rachel gently admitted that Dad had never tried to force anything between them. Instead, over the years, he had simply encouraged their friendship whenever I visited, believing life itself would decide the rest. That was when she softly whispered the words that changed everything. "My dad chose you for me." She explained that before her own father passed away, he and Thomas had often joked that their children shared the same values even if life pulled them apart. It had never been an arrangement or a promise. It was simply two fathers hoping their children might someday recognize the goodness standing right in front of them. Suddenly, every forgotten memory returned. The community picnics, the Christmas dinners, the afternoons Rachel and I spent helping our fathers repair bicycles for neighborhood kids. Dad had never been planning our future. He had been quietly protecting the possibility of it. Instead of returning to Chicago the next morning, I stayed another week, then another. Rachel showed me corners of the town I had forgotten. We volunteered together at the local food pantry where Dad had spent countless weekends. I met children whose lives Rachel had quietly changed through reading programs. For the first time in years, success wasn't measured by promotions or paychecks. It was measured by conversations, shared laughter, and the feeling that I belonged somewhere again. Months later, I accepted a remote position that allowed me to move home permanently. Dad's house became our house, though we changed very little. His baseball cap still hangs by the front door. His old rocking chair still faces the sunset every evening. Some reminders are too precious to replace. Before this story comes to its close, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us, has someone ever changed your life through quiet kindness rather than big words? Your story could encourage someone reading the comments today. A year later, standing beneath the old oak tree behind Dad's house, I asked Rachel to marry me. There were no fireworks or grand speeches. Only gratitude, tears, and the quiet certainty that two fathers who believed in kindness had left behind a legacy far greater than either of us understood. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe for more inspiring stories of faith, family, forgiveness, and second chances. Sometimes the greatest gifts aren't the plans people make for us, they're the love they quietly plant, trusting that one day it will bloom exactly when our hearts are finally ready.